Hey everybody, guess what? It's still bundle week and we're live again because what else would we do but hang out with you guys because you're the best. I am finishing up we're having mini dinner because before when we were supposed to do a whole live that was dinner with Kathy and Cheryl and we had just eaten, so we just chatted. So this is what we're doing now, and I just want to make sure that we are live for real because I have my doubts.
You have your doubts.
I have my doubts. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
What happens is there'll be 0, 0, 0, and then boom, there's a number. And I'm like, okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't click the wrong thing because it's after 5 o'clock and I'm a middle-aged lady and that's when the things get wild, people. So I'm having a little bit of a bagel and I'm having some okara cream cheese that we made in a Kathy's Cooking Club. And for those of you, everyone, whenever they see I've made something okara, they're like, you made cheese with okra? No. I think it's possible. And the more I hear it, the more I want it to happen.
Yeah.
But okara is just the Japanese word for the pulp that's left over after soy milk. So free stuff. I'm all about the free. I've got it makes the best ricotta, Rachel. So like literally you have the stuff and you put a little lactic acid, a little bit of nutritional yeast, and a little bit of salt or salt substitute. Magic ricotta to use in anything you want to. And it doesn't cost $10 for a little container like Kite Hill. So we decided cheap Kathy is in for the day. So if you... And I see everybody coming in. Thank you, Jill, for waiting patiently. Jeremy's here. We miss you guys. We haven't been to the Indian buffet in a while. Linda's here. Apple's back. Everybody's favorite.
Yep.
Lisa's here. Leanne's here. This is awesome. Is excited to try the okara ricotta. So we're here with Rachel Detroit tonight. And I'm going to let you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do, where people can find you, and some of the things maybe that you have in the bundle. Then we're going to transition into our topic for the evening.
Yeah, awesome. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much, Kathy and Cheryl. I'm really happy to be here. I'm Rachel Detroit, and I'm a life coach. So I help people with life transitions, life transformations. I'm certified in nutrition and plant-based nutrition specifically, although I do know all the nutrition, plant-based nutrition, personal training. So I help people really what I've been attracting clients currently who really want like serious life change, like their whole career, their whole business, their life. So that's been pretty fun. And I work with people often. I attract clients as well who have life-altering diagnoses. And I believe it's because I've had one of multiple sclerosis, and I've used plant-based nutrition and plant-based lifestyle to live symptom-free, to live well with the disease. So that's what I do. I'm and I'm starting to fully embrace, like, I am a social media influencer, life coach on the internet. That is what I do. And so a couple things in the bundle that are super fun that I've contributed is my super simple series. So if you purchase the bundle, when you purchase the bundle, you can check out the super simple series. And what I really believe is that lifestyle, these health choices can be super sustainable when they're super simple. So all of my ebooks, there's one, it's super simple vegan, super simple breakfast, super simple desserts, super simple fast food copycats. So all my homies who miss fast food, like Taco Bell, Nacho Bell Grande's in there, cheesy Fiesta, but it's all whole food, plant-based, and oil-free. There's like the KFC spicy chicken sandwich. And then I have super simple raw and super simple Lebanese food. So,
Lebanese food is delicious. So tell us about some of the food that's in there. Not that all the other
Oh.
ones sounded good too. It's like Lebanese, like Cheryl loves Middle Eastern food.
I do.
hmm Okay, and I saved that one for last, like to mention that one because it's my favorite. I was like, let me save the best for last. Um, and so because I'm Lebanese, I like grew up with like these really intense like meat Lebanese recipes, and I was like, well, I literally don't eat meat. So what, So I recreated in there. There's a kefta. It's so good. Kefta is like I made it with lentils, and it's got like a deep, delicious, flavorful parsley herb mixture. So there's kefta, there's hummus with heshwe, and heshwe is like hummus is like hummus. A lot of people like will say hummus. Hummus and heshwe. Hummus with the heshwe on top is like usually it's like a ground lamb with nut mixture, and I recreated it with mushrooms and a variety of nuts with the same spices, and I link all the Lebanese spices so that way like folks who might not know what a certain spice is, they can have a link to see what it is. So that's in there. Let's see. There's mjaddara, which is like mjaddara is how you would say it in Arabic, and then maybe jaddara would be more like what you might hear regularly, but it's a lentil, oniony deliciousness. I have a cabbage salad that goes with the jaddara. What else? A rose blossom fruit salad. And the best part about this was my favorite part of the Lebanese contribution, is that I am with the purchase of the bundle, with the contribution in my thing. There's a link you can go. So the ebook's there. Then there's a link, and you can sign up for my plant-based Lebanese cook-along course. So March 16th, I'm doing a cook-along course for everybody who purchased the bundle. They can register, and it's free. They don't have to pay. You just click on, follow the thing, you register, put your email in, and then I'll email you the Zoom link. And it's going to be a 2-hour cook-along course where we can hang out, build community, and cook everything in that plant-based Lebanese ebook together. And then if you can't come, I'll send you the recording. Just sign up. But yeah, that's what's in my
That's
little
awesome.
Lebanese one. Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, will you two come? That would be really fun if you guys came. Just cook
If
along.
we can,
Yeah,
we will.
March 16th. Yeah.
Okay, you'll have to send me the link, and then I can see if I can put it in the calendar. I'm
Yeah.
in my mind. I have these blinders. So like right now, it's March 1st through 10th. I have no idea what happened before or what
Yep.
happened after. You know what I mean, right?
I know exactly what you mean.
And so
But it'll be fun.
one of the things we were going to talk about today is kind of finding your plant-based groove. And so do you want to talk a little bit about like what that looks like or what we're meaning by that and kind of boundary the conversation?
Yeah. So what I've noticed a lot in finding the plant-based groove is a lot of folks that are really interested in the plant-based lifestyle and then can get discouraged if it's not perfect. Or maybe you're fully immersed in the plant-based lifestyle and it's not your ideal perfect situation, and then you get discouraged. And so it's all about, for me, when I work with my clients and I talk about like finding your groove, it's like what works with you in your lifestyle. So maybe it's making a ton of plant-based recipes and cooking and doing a ton of batch cooking and having things, or maybe it's just buying a lot of fruits and vegetables that you can cut up and have access to. Or maybe, and I also think a plant-based groove really goes hand in hand with exercise. Really.
Okay. And so I like that. So, because I'm a real big believer of we're all such individuals. You really have to see what fits in with you, where you are in your life, right? And, because I remember before I had more time than money, right? So I could break down that butternut squash and I could, I imagine myself if I was like in the 1800s picking that rice. you know. And, you know, like now, one of the things that I have when I have less time, but a little bit more money than I did in my 20s, thank goodness, because that would be really bad if I didn't. I was not, I was a musician, so I had very little money then, is that one of the treats that I do is I often buy pre-washed quinoa, you know, because I love quinoa, and there's nothing, well, there are very few mundane tasks that irritate me like washing quinoa, because if you don't do it enough, it's not a happy situation. And so, like, I also talk about sometimes with like butternut squash being a big example for me, is that some people are afraid to break it down and they just need a little knowledge. Other people have bad wrists or some sort of physical reasons that breaking down a butternut squash is not good for them, right? Like if you have tendonitis, there's absolutely no reason to aggravate that to get your lovely butternut squash, because you can buy it frozen, already cut up at Trader Joe's. So how do you see some of the stages for some of the people you work with as far as this groove building up?
Yeah. So some of the people I work with are like full-time working, 2 to 3 children, and they just want to incorporate more. And this is like the transition into plant-based. They just want to incorporate more things. So we started with what are some sides, right? So what are some sides you can start incorporating that are easy? So the whole idea of like the butternut squash in a bag, like there's no shame. There's absolutely nothing wrong with buying frozen vegetables that are already, or not frozen or whatever, that are already cut up. You know, I love frozen vegetables in the freezer that are, one, they're cheaper. 2, they're cut. You don't have to do any labor. And so like what I really advocate for my clients is like a lot of times people have these really high standards for themselves. And that's wonderful. And what you need to realize is like what you're doing is really amazing. Like the little things that you're doing, a lot of times people don't see these little things, these steps that they're taking as like anything big, because a lot of times folks don't value themselves or what they're doing or prioritize themselves. And me as their coach, I see them from the outside and I am more objective. Like, you're doing a beautiful job. Like, you've made these changes when you lived this way for so long. And you this week bought 4 bags of vegetables and you've incorporated them and you ate them and you still had time to do your groove, your regular lifestyle.
I like that a lot, because I think one of the things is people are always looking for besting themselves, coming closer to this ideal, and I talk a lot about it's not helpful, right? What's helpful is what works for you, and what works for a mom with 5 kids may not work for me, or certainly what I do. You know, I feel like the dog and the cat's enough. Like, Rachel was on a little bit earlier before we came on, and like the dog was having a fit because he wanted a snack because he saw us sitting down to come to do this. So I can't even imagine what it's like to make all the food for 5 kids, right? But I have a friend who has more than 5 kids, and she does it, and she does it brilliantly. But like one of the things she does is she makes slow cooker meals in freezer bags, and then she has the older kids pull one out, put it in the slow cooker every morning. And there's so many solutions, but like you'll hear some people kind of go, well, I don't know about frozen vegetables, but then you talk to both people. So like, and let's be clear, even though I'm saying this is what some people say, this is not what I'm saying or what Rachel's saying at all. But like some people will be like, talk about only the positive parts. Well, it's frozen at the height of freshness, so therefore there's more nutrients, and that is true. Some other people may be like, well, you know, I can't get organic of this, or, you know, get into the minutia. We talked a lot about this in my lives in January because we did a Mary's Mini, which is kind of a subset of the starch solution. And I said, we'll never do it again. We're only going to do something I make up called the starch reset because everyone's like, but can I have this? Can I do it this way? Can I do it that way? And so I said, you can do whatever you want. Here's the main guidelines and let's see what works for us because I like to think, and we did the starch solution or Dr. McDougall's 12-day program in July, and we like to think about it as an experiment, right?
Yeah.
Getting that data. Well, I ate this. How do I feel? Instead of like, well, this kind of sweet potato has X amount percentage more sugar than this kind of sweet potato, right? That's usually not helpful, except in some really rare medical conditions. So again, I want to offer that out for people who do have specialized things that they have to pay attention to. But for most of the population, if you eat a Japanese sweet potato, a burble sweet potato, or a regular sweet potato, your body's just happy to have a sweet potato. How do you feel about that?
Right. I 100% agree. And sometimes, and this isn't for everybody, and this isn't about everybody, but sometimes with some people, what could be happening when we get so caught up in the logistics of obsessing over, is this the right? It's because there's avoidance of something else. Because we're avoiding something else that actually really does need our attention, it's so much more comfortable. It's so much more safe to obsess. And, I've had a client before and I've said to her, like, my hands don't stretch that way anymore. I was going to do the little glasses, but we don't, but it seems like they don't have that stretch right now. So we don't need to become little scientists about every little thing because actually what we could focus our attention, and it's all about redirecting the attention, right? So if we want to obsess about is this sweet potato gonna have this chain of something that we don't even really know what it means, but I researched it and saw it on one Instagram reel. Really, there's probably a lot more stuff in life to focus on in your life that you can do to lift yourself up as opposed to putting your energy, like we only have a certain amount of energy. If we want to put it into obsessing about what is the right potato, what is, am I a bad person because my broccoli's not organic? There's so many other things that we could put our energy into to make ourselves big and beautiful, like big in terms of we're powerful, we're strong, we're beautiful, we're worthy people, making ourselves these, like divine creatures versus
And confident in the choices.
Yeah.
And I think it can be really hard, especially, I'm definitely an overthinker and I tend towards perfectionism, which is why I show all of you guys how not perfect I am on purpose. And like, I make up recipes during cooking classes and because it's hard, but the more you do it, the more you exercise that muscle, the easier it is. Like now I've gone on in my jammies and just made a recipe for you on a Saturday morning, right? Because I'm like, because a lot of times you have to think, what's your big goal? My big goal is to help you guys cook with confidence and ease and learn how to do new things. If I'm not willing to make mistakes and show you how to fix a mistake, that leaves a big part of your education just up to you. That's the hardest part. The hardest part is when you go, oh, I don't think this is working, right? That's the time you don't see people or things. Does it get thrown out? Does it go in the compost? I made a jambalaya in the Instant Pot Pro, which I had not made a heavy rice dish in. And so of course it went to burn because I did a recipe and a half. And while I didn't show the whole thing, I came back and told you guys what I did because I needed to transfer a lot of heavy, hot stuff. But I cooked it on the stove and I told you how it fixed it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that that's one thing to think about too. It's okay to not be perfect. In fact, nobody is perfect. Nobody.
And I think when you're transitioning and you start doing research and you start going to all these different places and you start reading all this stuff and it just boggles your mind down. And then, you know, I was on a forum recently where we were watching a video and just all this stuff was getting spewed out about all this. Well, don't do this. Well, make sure you do that. And somebody was like, I'm starting to think that, you know, I'm not going to be able to eat this way. Like it's starting to get too complicated for me to have to do all these things and to make sure I'm doing all this stuff to eat this way. And I think what you're saying is you know, take those bite-sized chunks and transition slowly, just a little at a time, you know, like I did over 4 years, basically. And yeah, I mean, you've got to keep it like simple. I think that's your word.
Yeah, and it's not a normal thing for us to be simple. You would think it would be, but we are trained out of being simple.
So
at least as Americans.
Yeah. So, you know,
and that's part of what
what steps are you doing with your clients to make that simple?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, and a lot of it is increasing. And like what Kathy was saying about like, now you'll come on and you'll cook in your pajamas. And it's about increasing, and this is what I work with my clients, it's increasing capacity. So we have like certain capacity for stuff. We have a certain emotional capacity for, let's say, like being different, wearing our pajamas in front of people, not doing our hair, or being questioned, right? Or sharing emotions. We have like a certain capacity. That's what we can stand. That's where we are. And what I do with my clients is, you know, because what I sell as a coach is life transformation. Nothing tangible. I'm not going to send you a book and say, here, this is what you paid for. I'm selling you a change in your entire life. And so what I do with clients is I help them increase their capacity to increase their capacity to be able to withstand emotions, the discomfort of like changing behavior. So how do I encourage them to be simple? One, I regulate, like not regulate it. I normalize it. Like it's actually okay. Like we actually want to dismantle this ego, this idea of the ego, which is like all of these ideas that society has created in our brain and we believe they're true. And just having someone that support me, who's like someone's number one fan. Like I love all my clients and it doesn't matter. Nothing that they do, if they ate the craziest thing in the world and drank and binge ate and went with their whatever, it doesn't matter, blew all their money, they are perfect, you know. And it's like teaching folks, so how do I teach them, to go back to your question, to be more simple, is teaching folks that whatever they do is actually perfect, is beautiful, is and the simpler, and I lead by example. The simpler, I eat really simple. Most of my meals are just like chopped up fruit, chopped up vegetables. Sometimes I'll open a can of beans, rinse them, and just eat like a half a can of beans, or a whole can, depending on how hungry I am. Like I don't have shame around amount of food. I don't deprive myself of food. So I just teach my clients, a lot of folks, regardless of how old they are, they have not been taught that it's okay to be human, that it's okay to not keep up with the Joneses. The Joneses aren't real. That it's not, you know, it's not realistic. So increasing the capacity by more exposure, you know.
And it's so true. I love what you're saying about the Joneses aren't real, because the Joneses, I think, are those little people. I also have some, you know, like
everybody grew up with somebody's parent or grandparent or somebody talking about these magical people over here that, you know, we don't want to do this, or we want to make sure that we do this right. And it's like, who are you trying to impress? Like, I know, like, my grandparents were like all obsessed about appearances. Like it was so important to them that we appeared as a family as a certain way. You know, that, you know, that all these things that were acceptable, and I feel like you get that in your head about lots of things. The way you eat, the way you exercise, you know, and I had just mentioned the other day about like body size and things like that. You know, it's like we can't tell if somebody is working on their health or working to lose weight or something like that just by talking to somebody, right? Like, we have to assume that this person is where they want to be. We can't, like, change their idea.
Well, also, I think there's something just going into seeing someone and looking at them and making these judgments. And I think we certainly do that with ourselves. I know I do. So I don't know about all the rest of you, but I'm, you know, have you ever seen those memes on Facebook where they're like, the person is getting their haircut and they see in the mirror and it's like this monster face is looking back at them because you're looking at yourself so long, and I'm like, oh, I relate to that so much. I'm like, I didn't know that thing was there, right? So I feel like, you know, it's one thing to us, I would rather us not do it to ourselves, myself included. But I think there's a danger. You don't know if someone's heavy or skinny because they have a medical condition or not, or because they have something else going on. And so it's about making a lot of assumptions. And one of the other things too and Lisa Rice has been on a few times. I don't know if you know her yet or if you've talked to her on the bundle. She's sick right now, but she's a delight.
I'll be live with her in due course, soon enough.
Yeah.
Somewhere in this mess of 10 days of March 1st through the 10th, it happens. I don't know when, but it does happen.
She is just a delight. And one of the things that we've gone live and talked about too is that people look, and so if I showed you a picture of a heavy person and I said, hit a button, vegan or whole food plant-based, you already know what button you're going to hit. Same thing, skinny person, right? But someone can be whole food plant-based, no oil, and be in a part of their journey. And we forget some of those things.
Yeah, and I guess where I was trying to go with that is like, so we have this, because society puts that stamp on things, that maybe we as people don't necessarily do what we should be doing because, or are as confident in what we should be doing because we have these things in the back of our mind, right?
Well, and it's kind of like what you were talking about, Rachel, though, too, about like getting in your own group. Like, we haven't talked about this as much, but when you emailed me and we came with this topic, you were talking about not comparing yourselves to others. Yes. And I think judgment is like next door neighbors to comparing yourself to others. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think comparing ourselves to others is like the root of our self-judgment. It's like we want a lot of times we think like what we are and what we have is not enough, that it needs to be. And most of the time, the people we think that are judging us or that we're comparing aren't even thinking about us. It's just like this, you know, this thing we create in our brain. And I think comparing, like a lot of times when we compare, we just bring ourselves down. But if, you know, instead of saying like, wow, Kathy, like if I compare, oh, Kathy is such a better cook than me. She has so many more followers than me on Facebook and on the internet, and I suck at being a social, like that's really painful for me, right? But if I thought like, wow, Kathy's fucking awesome. I think that what she does and what she creates is beautiful. Look at how she has such a great community. What can I see in what Kathy's doing that I can like, that I want to emphasize in me? That changes the picture so much better. It turns this like comparison, it turns it into like this beautiful, we can like, you know, coalesce in that. Like we can create beautiful energy in that, even if we don't talk. But if I have this idea like, oh, you know, that Kathy and her Ninja Creamy ebook is so like, what is this? A lot of times we like judge people because we think like, oh, well, we don't have what they have. And it's like, wow, if we just, I'm a big, huge, and in my coaching, I teach clients how to switch their perspective, right? Just like a switch of perspective. The comparison can be like, oh, they're so much better than me, and they do this so much better. Or it could be like, wow, I really love that quality in that person. It's wonderful, and I'd like to give that a shot.
I totally
And so much
agree.
better.
And it really is easy. It's easy to go, well, you know, how do they have that? Why am I not as good as they are? And the thing is most people, and obviously it's most, not all, most people want to be helpful. And if you actually say, hey, I love the way you do this. Can you tell me how you made that ebook? Can you tell me how you make queso with rolled oats? Of course I'm going to tell you, right? I'm like, oh, I want you to have my rolled oat queso because it's cheap and cheap Kathy's in the house and it's easy, right? It's like, why not? But the same thing, you know, I've approached other people and go, hey, can you help me with this? Or can you partner with me? It looks like you're trying to also eat starch solution style or whole food plant-based no oil. I'm just starting too. Can I ask you some questions? Right? And I think that it is really easy to get in there and let that kind of evil gremlin voice like take over and be the loudest voice in your head. I don't know if you contend with that at all.
I mean, like,
I talk to myself all the time. The gremlin. I'm like, is there anything else? Like, I think it's nice to recognize I think the gremlin actually has the same goals as the good, quote unquote, the non-gremlin part, right? So the gremlin's usually, oh, you're so terrible, you can't do that, because it, like, so a lot of times wants to keep you safe. It actually wants to help you. So a lot of times I'll talk to that gremlin, like, is there anything, like, I hear you, thank you so much. Like, that's, you know, thanks for sharing that. And then, like, I see what it needs. Some might think I'm a little cuckoo. I am a little bit, like, kind of on the little hippy dippy side. So I'm all about talking to the, you know, like seeing what's up with it. The gremlin.
I got a full-on Pennywise in my head. Like, it goes beyond gremlin, let me tell you. And it's been really, really, like, eye-opening, and it's been really hard getting from that place of, I don't like to look at what I'm doing as a diet because this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. This is a life-changing thing for me, right? So it's hard because then in the back of my head, and I always see, and the first thing everybody says is, well, how much weight have you lost now? Mm-hmm. And to me, like, it's been really hard to go, it's not about weight loss for me anymore. It is not about weight loss at all. It is about getting myself healthy and happy and just the way I want to feel. And, you know, the weight loss is a byproduct of that. It's not the main focus for me anymore. And that has given me some, I guess, makes me feel a little liberated, you know, by letting that go.
Yeah.
It
I
is
don't,
really.
I don't.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No,
You
you
go
go
right
ahead.
ahead. I was just going to say. Now let's see if I remember because it's after 5.
It's after 5.
So
She won't
middle-aged
remember.
Kathy's in the house. Middle-aged and cheap Kathy, you're getting like the bonus episode.
I know. I like kind of like sleazy, wild Kathy at night. This is fun.
Woo!
Like
I'm eating
cheap,
Cara
wild,
oranges.
forgetful Kathy.
Right?
Yeah.
I was just thinking too that like one thing I try, and I'm not always successful at this. So when I try, when I hear someone, because I do get a lot, well, how much weight have you lost now? How much weight have you, if we're talking about our starch solution journey, I'm okay with that. But like if it's a recipe for cheese sauce, it's a little out of left field if I'm getting a comment for that. So what I try to remember on good days is that that person is probably searching a way for them to be able to lose some of their weight, and they're trying to connect to me in a way that they can. On bad days, I'm just like, you know, this is not a question for this. I don't really go crazy, but yeah, weight questions will get deleted if they're not on proper threads. I'm drawing a few more boundaries for myself to keep me safe, which I don't usually do. So sometimes I'll be like, wait, this is just not on topic. And it's not like you're asking about what Instant Pot should you buy today on a cheese thing, but it's just like way off topic. And so sometimes it's hard to keep that and not be insulted.
I love the boundary setting. I want to tell you that I love the boundary setting, and I love, um, and that's something I work with my clients on too. And especially I work with mostly women, and something that I've noticed is women, we don't have the the natural instinct to set a boundary right off the bat. It's something that's got it. And I have this wonderful book. Let me just show it, and maybe some of your followers might like it. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. I wish I wrote it, but I didn't. And it's called The Book of Boundaries. I recommend it to all my
Ooh.
clients.
Looks
It's
great.
by Melissa Urban, the person who made the Whole30 diet. And the best part about this book is that there's scripts in here that will tell you word for word, like what you could say to set a boundary. And it's a beautiful book. I send usually with my clients, I send them a book, like kind of their flavor. Like I see like, oh, so like if this client were working on this, I'll like, just like a little gift, like a little, everyone likes to receive a package. I'll like order a book and ship it to them. And one of my clients, I sent her this book, and wow, like it's just been really life changing for her. And yeah, just the boundary setting. It's something to like, it's a learned behavior. And as women, it's like, it's almost like we're, oh, if she sets a boundary, no, absolutely not. I'm going to set the boundaries, and I'm going to run this show. This is my life. I will like let you know how to treat me, you know? So I love that you set those boundaries.
It's very interesting, and Apple is saying, and everybody's saying, I don't know if they're so glad Cheryl's here. Cheryl hasn't been here for a couple of weeks
Yeah,
to do live,
sorry.
so they're like they love some Cheryl. As why would they not, right?
Why would they not? I love that Cheryl's here too.
And
It's
Apple
fun.
said I used to teach a boundaries semantics class. We'd all be shouting no by the end of the class. Apple is as retired now, but I kind of in my head I'm like, I'm just right there with her. I'm like, oh, Apple could be my counselor, and that would be lovely. But you do have to go look at Fully Woven on Instagram, and she does have some delightful things in a podcast about all of these things as well. So,
Oh, I love that.
yeah. And so if someone was, I'm trying to think of a case scenario, and actually, let me come back here, because I think I missed two comments. One was from Apple. I have a neighbor who's new to whole food plant-based, and I love witnessing her curiosity and excitement as she discovers meals she enjoys.
Sweet.
We share tips and recipes.
Nice.
Kind of going back to like when you're like, oh, I wish I could be as cool as Apple and know what to eat, right? You can go, hey, Apple, you're super cool. Can you show me how to do some of those things? And most people, if they're in the right space, they can do it. They're like, yeah, right? Because somebody showed them, or somebody, even if no one showed me how to cook, but I learned from Molly Katzen's cookbooks. And so to me, Molly Katzen is a huge influence on my whole being. Like I was from a small southern town and basically learned Jewish deli cuisine as I learned how to cook for the first time, right? That's mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mona was saying what she thinks what upsets her the most is if I say I'm not losing the weight, it's already assumed I'm not following the process. Then I just feel depleted and not worthy. So how would you go about talking about that situation, Rachel?
Yeah. First and foremost, with the people that I work with, I never. They'll come to me and say that they would like weight loss, but I never put this idea of weight loss in the forefront. I never put it as like our goal of working together is not weight loss. That is a byproduct, just like you said. But with that specific situation, when people like assume, oh, well, you're not following the process, that is like if someone in my place, and I've had disordered eating, this is why it's really touchy for me. Like the weight I've been 50 pounds heavier than I am now, and I've been 50, probably 30 pounds lighter than I am now to 40 pounds. And that's really small. That's very dangerous. The disordered eating, like going up and going down, and it's too much. And so I can get kind of like, definitely, I'm not into it. I'm not into the food shaming. I'm not into the fat phobia. I'm not into all of the things. So like someone will think, oh, you're not on the process. I would say for me, if someone had a comment, oh, like if someone asked me what my weight was, I definitely would probably say something like right back to them, like, what does it mean to you? What would it mean to you? What does that mean for you? What my weight is, what my weight loss is. And then if they feel like, oh, well, you must not be sticking to the process. One, I would say, I want to let you know that I don't want to discuss my weight with you. I would just shut them down. I want to let you know, and I would say what I want. Because a lot of times we have a hard time speaking our desires, what we want. And I would just look them in the eye and say, I want to let you know that it doesn't make me feel good when you comment on my weight, and I won't be talking about it with you anymore. I would just shut them right down. And I've done that to my family. I've shut people down. Like when people want to talk, like, because my weight has gone up and down, and and I'm really doing my own thing with my food disordered eating that I've experienced in my life, with the binge eating and then the not eating and the not eating enough. And then you're fat and you're like, this, my brain says. And it's like, I don't need an audience. I don't need the peanut gallery. So I'm really direct, and I help people learn how to find empowerment. Just being really direct, shutting them down. It's nobody's business what my weight is. I don't even own a scale. I don't even know what my weight is. It's nobody's business what my weight is. It's nobody's business to dialogue with me about what my experience. I'm not dialoguing with you about my weight. This is not a dialogue. It's nothing to do. It doesn't. My weight doesn't mean who I am as a person.
Yeah.
I actually want to be strong and muscular. I want to be thick. I want to be, really thin people tend to be quite sickly. I've been really thin, and I was quite sickly when that happened. It wasn't good. So I don't dialogue about weight. I would just help people figure out how to shut it down. We don't dialogue about that. It's nobody's business.
That's awesome. And another thing, I know some of you guys saw when Katya Gorbachova was coming on the show for a while, and I don't know if you know her, Rachel. She's one of the strongest vegan women in the world, and she lives
wow.
She lives 10 minutes from me. She's adorable. I feel like she's like kind of like a daughter or little sister or something, but she's delightful, and she's had body dysmorphia. So we had a whole conversation about that, because she's a power lifter now, and what that means is she lifts a lot of weight, so she's strong and she's big.
But prior to that, she did the whole bodybuilding thing where
you
all you do is get judged by your looks and things like that.
Yeah, and that you actually on purpose get incredibly unhealthy low levels of fat to the point, And so she talks about all that, and because what she says in her mind, she's like, I'm fat, and she'll pinch her fat. And she looks like a goddess.
Right.
So let's just be real clear about that. But she's like, it's just what it is, You have short hair, I have long hair, blah, blah, blah. It's just a thing. But we really do put so much, actual emphasis on this thing or another. Or like we also tend to do with aging and different things too as a culture. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing that Joseph is saying, I got over my chronic fatigue that caused weight gain due to my metabolism slowing down. Apparently I was low in iodine due to a compromised immune system. I'd rather feel healthy than be skinny. And and what I don't want this to do, though, just to draw some clear boundaries, is lots of people are thinner, and that is really healthy for them. Mm-hmm. Lots of people are, a little bit heavier, and that's healthy for them.
You got to find that sweet spot, right?
Every body is different.
Mm-hmm.
Every single human body is different. Everybody, like that sweet spot that you said, what is right for you is not right for them. And what's right for them is not right for me.
Right. And so I just think it's one thing because I know, I grew up in the 80s and cocaine chic was a thing, right? So I mean,
Ooh.
every person who, and I'm totally was not that, but I did have cool hair, had really cool hair back then. But it's every generation usually has some sort of, this is what your body's template is supposed to be. And there's a subset of people that fit in that, like think of supermodels, right? Yes, all over the world, there are some tall, skinny girls. And, if you think about some other template, like, old paintings, then it was really nice to be rounder and things like that. So I feel like we've seen these body changes. It was like slow, and now it's fast, 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 fast because we can get bigger booties with surgery or big, this, that, and the other. And I'm not in our community, but I notice out in the world because I'm not a teenage girl now. But I think it wasn't easy being a teenage girl in the 80s, and I would think it would be even harder now.
Yeah.
Because all these messages.
All these messages, and the like, and I'm not gonna food shame, although there's a lot more food that is accessible that is highly addictive. So it's like, be this shape, and then here's all this food. It's not nutrient dense, that's super high in calories, that's like could be dangerous. And I'm not saying like eat what feels right for you. I'm not saying, I'm just kind of like stating what's true. Like high in calories, low in nutrients, eat all this food, it's cheap, and you're a kid, and it's addictive, and it's colorful, and then and then look at social media, and everybody's got this. It's really difficult and to be a young person. And I was a high school teacher for 8 years before I became a life coach. And I would just see these young children, keeping up with the Kardashians and trying to do, and it's hurtful, it's painful, it's challenging, especially if a young person is not the ideal weight that they want or the size, and they don't fit into the clothes. I would see like it's painful for them, and the judgments. It's really difficult to be a kid right now.
It is.
Really difficult.
It really is. I just put up a thing
Mean.
from Apple, said all these messages and all this surveillance / social media, and she feels for the younger generations. But I think we also have to think about this too. So Anne is saying, I grew up in the Twiggy era, right? I never wanted to be her, but I had a friend that did. And that was like really the first super, super, super skinny popular in the
Supermodel.
60s.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, I think every generation ends up having something like that. I'm not saying, obviously, everything is more magnified in this very visual social media era where, you get to have the great things like we get to bring all these wonderful people from the bundle on. So you kind of get to pick. Like, I have the best TikTok in the world. Not my personal TikTok, but the one I watch. It is full of fun, loving kindness, all kinds of goodness. So like even through the pandemic, I scroll through TikTok, and then I was talking to somebody else. They're like, every time I go to TikTok, it just makes me angry. And I'm like, somehow I've cultivated this nice one, but you can put where your lens goes. And it's not easy. And it's not easy to not want to be normal like everyone else, because that's what our heads tell us. If it's Twiggy, and if you see everybody in the magazines or everybody on Instagram and they look alike and they don't look like you, it is hard to separate and go, oh. And this is talked about in the whole food plant-based community some. I don't know if you know plant-based dads. Joey, so he was also following Starch Solution. He's following a modified version that's fitting his body. He's taking his own way, and he's doing muscle training and stuff now, which is very interesting. But he talks a lot about, it's great that High Carb Hannah, a few of the other younger 20, 30-year-old people who lost a lot of weight, but that may not work for someone who's 60 years old. And I think sometimes it depends on who's visible, right, at that time too, can be. Oh, Apple says, I'm so glad my adolescent role models were punkers. I didn't give a care for what other thoughts about my looks. Excellent.
I can relate, Apple. I was thinking that too. I'm like, I actually like shave my head and like cover myself in tattoos because I like looking different. I like when people are like, oh, she's kind of edgy. Like, what does she look like? Like, what's she wearing?
Right? And
I like being different.
I
love it.
I think that's great. Yeah, no, and I feel the same way. Like I'm definitely quirkier, I think, than punk. Like this is my non-quirkiest t-shirt. I thought carrots and night vision was a good bundle day starter, but like I wear lots of weird Halloween stuff. Like I love Halloween and spooky and witchy stuff, and I think the thing is when you go and you're taking this part of yourself you like and you're just living in it a little bit. Maybe you were able to do that when you were young, and maybe you weren't, but you can now.
Right.
Yeah. When I was younger, I had to wear polo shirts and khaki pants and crap to work all the time, and just like, and then one job I had to dress up all the time. Remember, I used to have to wear the blazers and all that stuff. And now I'm just like, you know what? I don't have time for all this. I just want to be me, and I just want to be comfortable.
It was show butterscotch. You showed butterscotch earlier. So we lost some weight doing McDougal, so now she has some of my other clothes. This was my favorite sweatshirt. Look, is he not the cutest? With his little eyes and his little werewolf costume. So there's this place that does this great artwork. But there's something fun. Like I literally will get up in the morning and go, look at my t-shirts, what kind of mood fits me, because I've created this life that I can do that. And I know
think
it's
that's the token.
and it's tiny. And if you're going to a job, you can wear a t-shirt under your sweater. You can wear a t-shirt under your button-up shirt. Or whatever it is, get your underoos. Because I tell you, I have some like grown-up underoos too.
Rachel's probably too young to know what underoos are.
Oh!
I don't know what they are. I just was going to let you talk about underoos. I was like, whatever, I'll look it up later.
What is it? Underoos are fun to use or something like that. It's little kid underwear.
Or fun for you or something like that.
And you could dress up like a superhero. So like you'd have your little shirt and your little shorts and you'd bathe.
And they were underwear
And
that
now
you wore
we
under
have
your
like
clothes.
tomboy. I don't know if you know tomboy underwear, but tomboy underwear.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I get all their Halloween patterns. I literally had a Monsters a bra on the other day. And so it's just little things like that help me. It may or may not help you. You may need to have your absolute favorite orange in the morning. It can be something else, but I know for me, when I'm kind of losing control of that evil voice in my head and it's being kind of shamey or shoulding or all those other things, if I stop and go, what's one thing I can do? And if that one thing sometimes is I could put some more ice in my water so that I enjoy this water more that I should be drinking. And I think sometimes, maybe you guys aren't as basic as I am, but sometimes.
We love simple over here.
Right? Sometimes you just need something. What can delight you? Can you walk outside and see if something's blooming yet?
Or how about having delight in the things that suck? I think that's a superpower.
Let's hear what this is. Give us a
Yeah.
Story time.
Yeah.
So this is, and I'm doing, like, I get coached because I'm a coach. I believe in coaching so much. I also have a coach and I believe, and so what I'm working with is like finding the delight, and this is about increasing capacity, is finding the delight in the things that suck, in the things that you absolutely hate. How can I enjoy the fact, maybe you're sick, you have a cold and your head hurts and you're angry. What is beautiful about this situation? It takes muscle. It takes work. You have an ex. You just broke up with them. The fighting, the heartbreak. what's the delight in that? Because life is an experience, right? It's also wonderful to feel the shitty feelings, like, oh God, you suck, this is painful, this hurts. Feel it. And then also, like, what's the delight in it? Now I get to have my own space. Now I get to have space for new connections. When you're sick, what's the delight in it? I get to have some days off work. um, I get to watch my body heal. So it's like finding delight in the pain, because life is a bunch of pain, a bunch of pleasure, a bunch of boring. And like, if we can find the delight all the time as much as possible, then life can be beautiful all the time as much as possible.
I like that. One thing I do if I'm really, really, really sick is I think back to this time I was really sick. And I hadn't been able to eat for a couple of days because I had a stomach flu. And in Florida, or New York, the bad stomach flu.
Oh.
I also happened to eat beets the
And
night that I got stomach flu. So it looked like Cheryl murdered someone.
And we were at a hotel. We were at a hotel, and I had to call housekeeping to get more towels, and I had to hand those beet-ridden towels out, and it looked like I was like handing out
And I'm
like a
afraid
murder
of throwing
scene towels.
up. So I'm just crying, like tears. I'm not ugly crying. Just tears are streaming down. Like, I'm never eating again. So like, and Cheryl's trying to get me a cracker. 2 days, no crackers. But all I thought, and now, because the first grape I had after those 3 days was the most magical thing I've ever had in my life. And so I had like a little flu. And then I thought, all I do is think about that grape. That grape is going to be amazing. That grape. And so it gives me, when you're just like, you feel like you can't hold on, it's like, that's the one thing I can look forward to in the future. And TS is asking, I'm new to hearing Rachel speak. Is she a healthy food coach, a lifestyle coach, an exercise coach? Thank you, love listening to her. So I'm going to let you define yourself.
All of the above, but go for it.
Yeah, I would call myself a general life coach. So all of it, right? But I'm certified in plant-based nutrition. I followed a whole food plant-based lifestyle for 5 years now, almost. It's been, so I'm quite familiar with that. I'm also certified in personal training. So I'm like, and also I have taught many courses in person about pain management through stretching. So how to use like body movement to help with pain. I also love spirituality. I kind of go everywhere with anybody depending on who they are. I talk about sex and love and relationships, but not always. Like, it just depends on the person. Businesses, right now I'm working with a client who's a hairdresser, and we are just making her business big and powerful and beautiful. She's attracting all these new clients, making more money. So I'm kind of like a little Gemini. I'm like everything. I'm an entrepreneur. Like, into rentals, and so I'm into money, and I'm not afraid to make money. I'm not afraid to empower women to make a lot of money. Sorry, I get really excited. Not sorry, but I get really excited talking about.
Don't be sorry.
No, keep going.
When you're excited, you're helping excite other people about things that maybe they didn't even know they wanted to add or change in their lives. So that's a gift that those of us who share our opinions with other people get to give too, is the excite. Like, I get ridiculously excited. You know that.
Yeah. Well, hey, me too. And another thing too that I love working with people is I love working with rock bottoms. Like, when people think that this is it, their life, because I've been there before. I'm sober now, but I used to be drunk and high and da 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 all the time. And I thought that was life. So I work with people who are substance, and want to like flip around. I had a life altering diagnosis of MS, and like, I've overcome that, and I've become extremely healthy. I had a lot of childhood trauma. I'm not a trauma therapist, and I always encourage people to get therapists when I know that they need one. And I don't. I'm not your trauma therapist. I'm a life coach, and I'm going to like probably trigger you a little bit because that's what changing your life is. But yeah, all of those things, like complete life shift. And I offer free consultation. So if you're interested, RachelDetroitCoaching.com, and like, let's do a free consult. It's fun. It's completely free.
And that should be in the show notes as well. So if you look down below and you click the three dots, scroll down, the information Rachel gave me is down there. So you should be able to get to a free consult with that. We do have a question for you from Apple. She wanted to know if there was time. There's always time for an Apple question. Apple, you do so much for us in the community. I'm curious if she finds infrared mats effective with chronic diffused body pain. And would you like me to repeat that, or was that okay?
I heard it. Infrared mats diffused with, no. Yes, I want you to repeat
If she finds yeah, I felt like there was a lot of words there. Are infrared mats, could they be effective with chronic diffused body pain? So I'm not a pain specialist, but I'm assuming not sharp pains, but these kind of diffused body pains. And do you know information about that?
I've never worked with infrared mats. I've helped people, my classes, we really focused on just using your body and stretching and physical movement. And my teacher in that, you could look him up on YouTube. He's super cool. His name is Roland Liebscherbrocht. He's from Germany. You can probably look up the pain specialist, Germany. Probably just type the pain specialist, Germany. He's my teacher in this, and he has developed, he has a ton of free videos, but he also has like a paid subscription or something. But he's my teacher in this, and he focuses a lot on, so to answer your question, I don't have any knowledge in that. And what I do have knowledge in is if you look up the pain specialist Germany, his name's Roland Liebscherbrocht. I mean, he's just one, like if you have back pain, knee arthritis, ankle pain, things in your feet, he's just really wonderful. Hip pain, with the stretching and using physical movement to like rejuvenate those areas. So that's my school of practice. It's more like stretching and movement versus infrared, like mats or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Awesome. And I looked that up and I put it in the comments so people can go and kind of go down that hole, because it's the weekend, right?
Good.
Why not learn something new?
He's so awesome. He's wonderful, wonderful teacher.
Did you have anything you wanted to ask about stretching? Because I heard you.
I have a hip issue going on. I'll just go down the rabbit hole with the link there and see what I can figure out. I fell last year in January, and ever since then I've been having some weird issues. And we know that I actually lost some. I have some nerve issues because of the fall in the back of my heel. That my foot doctor said that, you know, it could come back, but it's probably gone. But I've also been having this weird little pain thing going on, so I will probably read more about that.
And Lisa,
yeah, check them out. And if you want help, I can. I'd love to talk about it. I love talking about that. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, that would be delightful.
I
And
would
Lisa
love to.
Rogers is saying Dr. William Pollock is the specific on IF bats. I have no knowledge of it, so I am just reading the words that are in front of me. But Lisa might know, and she's delightful. And specialist on
specialist on IR mats, not specific.
Okay. See, I don't even know. You could say it's the puppy dog of IF. That's what I'd be like. That's delightful. So Rachel, do you have anything else that you feel like you didn't get to squeeze in our talk that you wanted to share with everybody?
No, I'm really, I love your community. They're super, like, this has been super fun. The bundle's super awesome. Check it out. This experience has been super good. I know I'm just super grateful to share space and time with you. And thank you for allowing me into your family, this beautiful family that you've built.
Oh, of course. No, it's the best.
Yep.
And it's just, I'm just so happy to be a part of, and that everybody's a part of this community, and it's just really delightful. We put some stuff up, some space in the Heartbeat group that's free that you guys can join. The link should be in with the description. It's throughout the live chat as well. If you want to come over and talk about some of the stuff you're finding in the bundle and maybe get some excitement and partner up with some people to maybe work through a couple of things that you're finding. And the bundle is only available from today through March 10th, 12:59 Pacific Standard Time, and then when it's gone, no one can get it back.
And that's a hard, firm no. You will not get a chance to get it after that date and time.
There is no wiggle room.
Nope.
Like, there's almost always wiggle room with Kathy, but this is not my deal. So I will put the blame on someone else where it belongs. Rachel, is there anything in particular in the bundle that you were super excited about so far?
Oh, yeah. Yep. I love Indian food, and I miss deep fried. I mean, I don't know if I miss it, but I miss having that Indian food that tends to be deep fried. I don't miss deep fried food, really. And they just have a whole food. It's the ebook is called Saved It.
It's the Broccoli Mums one, right?
The Broccoli Mom's one, yep. And it's Indian food. And I'm going to be making some of those things on my page. So I can't wait. That is my favorite thing in the bundle. Sorry, everybody else. It's even more favorite than what I've contributed. I love Indian food. I just can't. It's so good.
Well, it's the best. And we were talking earlier because actually when we had our dinner, like when we had such a late dinner that we had snack dinner, is First Seed Foods. And I don't know if you've heard about that. Like they just finished up their order, but you can get it every month. And so they have whole food, plant-based, no oil Indian food that comes to your house frozen.
Oh.
It's not super cheap, but it is super convenient, and it's
good.
delicious. It's not spicy, so I end up putting things like Indian pickle or chili in there to spice mine up, and Cheryl is perfectly happy.
I'm perfectly happy with
With the way it
is. Yep.
But we talked about that a little bit. If you guys are interested, there's also a no salt, no oil on some of them as well. So if you have some clients with real specific needs, I just like it. And she's a small business owner, and she is also in the bundle. So I'm excited about that.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome.
Well, thank you so very much for joining us. And this is great. Kimberly says, I've been downloading the bundle and got to Rachel Detroit and thought, Rachel Detroit, I'm missing Kathy's live. That's hilarious.
Yay.
And then Kathy says, read the bundle. Sometimes a few of the books are in more than one bundle. If you miss out, you can get some of them in the future, but not the mix. You can often get the products from the people. So like what happens is like my stuff, I have one single class, a bundle of 5 classes, and an ebook. So it's like more than $200 worth of stuff that you can get in the $49 with the other $8,000 worth of stuff. Or you can buy $200 worth of stuff from me directly. So usually most of the products are available on the people's sites if you just wanted one thing in 3 months. However, this time there's also the contributor spring ebook. Were you able to get a recipe into the ebook?
Oh yeah, you have to try it. It's my quiche, and the crust is corn tortillas, so it's super simple.
My goodness.
It's super delicious. I worked on it. I ate like 6 quiches to figure out like what is. Oh, and let me act like I'm mad about it. I'm like, I had to eat. Oh God, I had to eat 6 quiches to figure this recipe out. But oh my goodness, it's so good. Please make it.
We're doing a brunch tomorrow.
Yeah, we are. Who knows? We might.
And the crust is just corn tortillas. It's quite effortless. That's my style. Super simple.
Oh, I love that. Well, and thank you. And thanks for sharing your time and expertise and your kind words with all of us tonight, because we really do appreciate it. And I would just like to end with everybody, because I'm going to be taking some special extra self-care tonight since this was a long day. I'm going to go take a hot shower, and then I'm going to get into bed, and I'm going to be reading. I'm reading really slowly. I used to read like a book a day, and now I'm like real slow. Someone in my community, CJ, because I said I love cozy mysteries and I like witchy things, so she found me. It's called The Accidental Alchemist. It's an alchemist lady who's vegan, who has a gargoyle, basically, who's alive. So should you need some mind candy along with me, go check that out. It's been delightful. We talked about in the last one, there's an Audible book too. So feeling too tired to read, let it read it to you. Have a bedtime story.
Oh. I'm going to catch up on all the drag race that I'm behind on while she's taking a shower and reading downstairs. That's my mind candy.
Love it.
Like Rachel's going, I can't wait till I'm middle-aged. This is my Friday night outlook.
I mean, I kind of do, like, I'm not too far from you all. I need to work out though today. It's kind of late, but I missed it because I scheduled all these things all day, and then all of a sudden I get stir crazy if I don't do anything. So I was like, I think that's good self-care. I was like, I'll ride the bike for 20 minutes, then I'll take a shower because it's stinky.
Hey, we went out. We had a big time last week. We actually went out to a bar and had a drink. It was at 4 p.m. It was 4 p.m. They had just
That's
opened,
a good time.
and we had non-alcoholic mocktails.
Oh, I could roll with you two. And then we could go home, make the quiche, and then sleep by 8.
Yep.
Like, that's pretty. Like, I'm cool with it. That's
You're an
like what I wanna
honorary
do.
old person.
Okay, we'll let you
In my
in the
heart.
middle-aged lady club.
I'm into it.
The other
love
thing is
middle-aged
you just
women.
don't care anymore a little bit. You're like, it hurts a little when somebody says something kind of nasty, but most of the time you're like, I've used all that energy up for the day. So that's the bonus of getting old, for sure.
Oh, I got Apple Watch and Finding Nemo. I might have to do that one too.
Yeah, we were talking about the character in Finding Nemo in the last one. I feel like we're having this thread. It's like one of those TV shows, that kind of runs through the different ones, and then there's a crossover.
We're in the
that's what
crossover
Bundo
event.
Lives are.
The Bundle Lives are crossover events.
Well, have a wonderful, wonderful night and a wonderful rest of your bundle week. And thank you again for coming and hanging out with us.
I'll email you about my hip.
Oh yeah, I can't. You have no idea. Like, I'm not even kidding. I can't wait to talk about it.
All right.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank
Be
you,
good
guys.
to
Take care.
yourselves.
Everybody be good.